Week 1 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few kickers I look to start this week. The first guy, Cameron Dicker, the Los Angeles Chargers. So Cameron Dicker on a high-powered offense, obviously, with this Charger team. And this week they got a matchup where I think it's going to be a shootout in Los Angeles in the indoor stadium. Obviously one of the nicest stadiums in the league. So right now, Miami Dolphins coming to town. We know their defense is banged up. Jalen Ramsey out the first few games. And this team's going to put a lot of points on the board, even more than last season, I believe. If Keenan Allen's healthy the whole year, Quentin Johnson added to the offense, and now you add Kellen Moore, who likes taking more deep shots and throwing the football more down the field. So with all those factors, and this being an indoor game and a potential of an over of 50-55 points between both teams, I think Dicker is going to get a few opportunities for field goals in this one. And I got him as a start this week. The next kick is Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. So McPherson on a high-powered offense. Joe Burrow looks like he's going to play here in week 1. And this Brown team, they've played the Cincinnati Bengal team well over the last few seasons, where we've seen McPherson having to settle for a lot of field goals. And I think we could see a little bit more of the same in this one, because this Brown defense is a bend but don't break type of unit, especially led, obviously, by premier pass rusher Myles Garrett, and you got Denzel Ward in the secondary as their two main players. So right now, McPherson, we know he's got one of the biggest boots in all pro football, where he could kick it anywhere from 55, 60 yards out. And this week here in a division matchup versus the Cleveland Browns, I think this is going to be a close game, and he's going to get a few opportunities to have some good chances at field goals and fantasy points. So right here this week, I got McPherson as a start this week. The next kick is Graham Gano of the New York Giants. So Graham Gano, he's been a mainstay now over the last few seasons for this New York Giant offense, and he's a kicker that can kick the ball as well, 50-plus yards. And we've seen it. And now in the opener, they got the Dallas Cowboys coming in. That's one of the better defensive units in the league over the last couple seasons. So right now, this is going to be a tight division ball game in the NFC East. It usually is with the Giants and the Cowboys. And I think Graham Gano is going to get at least 2 or 3 opportunities at field goals and a few extra points as well. So surprised to me, Graham Gano is still out there as well in 76% of fantasy leagues. So he's a kicker that could put up points. He could kick those 50-plus yarders, no doubt about it. And we've seen it a lot over the last few seasons, where he's had 5-6 games a year with double-digit fantasy points. So this week it's a possibility, like I said, with this good Cowboy defense coming to town, where they're going to have to settle for some long field goals, and he could possibly get double-digit fantasy points this week. The next kick is Greg Joseph, the Minnesota Vikings. So this Viking offense is high-flying. They're indoors this week as well at home versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. And this Buck defense, I'm not totally calling them a bad defense, but I think they're a defense that this Minnesota team could drive down the field a decent amount of times in this ball game and get Greg Joseph at least 2 or 3 field goal attempts and a few extra points as well, where you got a playmaker like a Justin Jefferson who could get big plays and chunk plays to get you in field goal position pretty good, and a tight end like TJ Hawkinson, who's a nightmare matchup for safeties and linebackers. I think it's a recipe for success for this Minnesota Viking team to get in field goal range in the red zone. And I think this week Greg Joseph has a good ball game, and he's been pretty solid over the last couple years since he landed in Minnesota. So this week he's definitely a start for me. And the 5th and final kicker I have as a start is Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is a high-powered Eagle offense led by Jalen Hurts with Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and I'd like the committee of backs over there, Rashad Penny, Kenneth Gainwell, and DeAndre Swift. So this week here, they're going to Gillette Stadium. I know this Patriot defense isn't all that great, but there's still a defense, especially in big ball games. And at home, they step up and play good defense. And I think this week they're going to keep this Eagle team a little bit out of the end zone, where Jake Elliott's going to get a few opportunities at 30, 40-plus yard field goals with a few extra points. So right now he's with a high-powered offense. This Eagle team, like I said, one of the high-scoring teams in all the league last season. But this week, I think they're going to be kept out of the end zone a couple times, because this Patriot defense is a bend but don't break type of D. But this week, I think Elliott, he makes a few field goals in this one, and he's a kicker I would start this week. So that's a few kickers I look to start here in week 1 of the fantasy football season.